Welcome everyone, we are back with another Game of Thrones video, and this one is the Season 6 History and Lore.
Yes, there's parts of this we are actually going to skip over because we've been warned, as we're getting towards the end of Game of Thrones, everyone knows that House of the Dragon is coming next, and we've just been warned that we were told to skip the fifth one, so there must have been quite a bit in there.
The entire plot, apparently, we were told.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, there's obviously been subtleties in here that may well come up. House of the Dragon, don't tell us, of course, but yeah, thankfully, they seem to have gone over our heads with everything we've been trying to work out in actual Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kept us busy enough. And talking of busy, I mean, I'm still not, and I'll say this in the Season 7 opener as well, I'm still not fully over what's just happened. I mean,
no,
I have not really come to terms with just how many people we lost.
The game fully changed in one episode. We've lost a lot of people.
Tons.
And we've been waiting. I mean, you'd have been waiting way longer than we have for Dany to finally sail west, and that's happening as well. And she's got. Oh, apparently when Varys was on that ship, some of those ships had Martell and
I saw.
Yeah, different sigils,
which makes sense. It was just because it was such a. There had only been like 5 minutes. It felt like in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did guess that there must have been a bigger gap in time.
So that they took the ships over there to get Dany, but it was still, people still did agree it was a bit of a ridiculous time jump, and we were robbed of that Varys Dany meeting. So
yes.
Yeah, we said pretty much the same thing.
They wanted to cram so much.
Yeah.
Into this one episode.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me does think that I wonder if there was an opportunity to maybe have Season 6, Episode 8 as Battle of the Bastards, Season 6, Episode 9 for Cersei eliminates everyone, and then do Season 6, Episode 10 as what happens with Walder Frey and what's happening with Dany and the Martells and the whole kind, because that would have almost been like what we had seen in previous seasons of where 10 is the builder. What it felt like here is that they got to Episode 10 and it's like, well, Cersei's going to kill half the cast. We need Walder Frey executed by Arya.
Yeah.
And we need to get the plan in place from Varys and Olenna and everybody else to then come over with Daenerys. And even though it was an extended episode, I think it was just so much to pack into one episode.
Yeah,
and
I agree. The Martell, Tyrell, and the Dany sort of alliance, well, I feel like that was really rushed. We didn't really see too much of that. It was really rushed. And I get what you mean about Battle of the Bastards could have been Episode 8. We know that Episode 9s are probably some of the best in the season, and the Cersei one would have been good enough for that. But yeah, it would have probably been the best Episode 8 we've ever seen.
Well, exactly that, and it would have caught everybody off guard because nobody, I'm guessing, upon release would have been thinking, Episode 8, this is going to be a big one, and then they could have just dropped that Episode 8 and then had the Episode 9, because I do feel as though that Cersei storyline, it that could have been an episode, because
100%,
it was insane. And then we still could have had the bit at the end where Jaime returns and she's being obviously made herself queen immediately, and
crazy.
There was a comment that came in on that just summed that up to a T. With Jaime's look, of course, he spent all this time telling us about the fact that the reason he did what he did was to stop exactly this happening, and Cersei has just gone and done it.
Yeah.
I don't know how this is going to affect Jaime and Cersei's relationship.
No.
I don't know if this is repairable.
No, I thought I interpreted the look as one like that. She's finally become like, this isn't the person for Jaime now. I don't think they have different values now. She is, that I don't think she can come back from this. Like I think it's insane.
Jaime's journey has taken him on a different path to Cersei. It does. I don't know what he does now though, because as we saw in the way that the season finished, everyone is coming for Cersei. Everyone hates Cersei. There's not really a person alive other than Cersei, Qyburn, and the Mountain who really wants Cersei alive.
It's going to test how strong that love is for Jaime towards Cersei, whether he can be on board with whatever she does next, which I don't know, because she's so unpredictable, but. A crazy character, like amazing character. But
imagine if Jaime has to murder her. Again, through the back, just like he does it through the front this time.
Yeah.
Just to she leans in for a kiss, and then you just see sword coming. Yeah.
Queenslayer. Queen. But I did like the ending of season 10. That shot of the
season 10,
episode 10.
Oh right.
I don't know if there is a season 10.
No, I don't think there is. There's 8 seasons.
Episode 10 with the armada of ships and the 3 allies just sailing west, knowing exactly where they're going. They're off to Westeros now, and get goosebumps even thinking about it, because waited a long time for that.
It feels ridiculous asking this, but bearing in mind that Cersei seems to always find a way, and we see these build-ups for battle that constantly go south. Is there any way Cersei wins this?
Do you know what? we have seen Lannisters come out on top time and time again in this show, and if it happened again, I would be like, the plot armor is like unbreakable. Like you can't even dent the plot armor at this point. Like there's absolutely no way that unless she gets some crazy allies, that she survives a direct war against Dany and
they
what
kill
she's
her.
bringing across.
There's no reason. You don't keep someone like Cersei alive. You are coming in to take over. You kill her.
Yeah, you kill her.
So Cersei's time is up.
I mean, yeah, it's looking that way, definitely.
Because she's used the wildfire trick.
Yep.
That was a one-time trick to kill all these innocent people.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know what else she really has. She just has her army, and this army coming over is huge.
Oh, it's crazy huge.
It's a monster. Everyone has thrown their support behind Daenerys.
Even with the Tyrells, the second biggest army in Westeros. Now they're with Dany, who's got thousands of Unsullied. She's got the Dothraki,
Tyrells,
whoever the Martells have given over.
The Martells,
it's huge.
She has everyone.
Army.
And it almost seems like if Dany comes in, she's going to go back to a similar agreement to what Robert had in place, where she's maybe going to let all of these areas rule themselves. Because we saw the deal that she gave to Yara. So I would assume, based on what we've seen, that she has given the same deal to the Martells and the Tyrells for Highgarden and Dawn, respectively. So it does seem like she's potentially going to land. And then when she finds out her nephew has now got the North, King of the North, she's probably going to let him have that. Bran's obviously going to have to convey the message there.
Queen of the One Kingdom.
Well, yeah, I don't. That's the thing. Is that going to be enough for her?
Yeah,
is she going to take over all this and then just be like, oh, because this has been building for so long.
Yeah,
and is it just going to be that she gets there and it's just like
she's told us in no uncertain terms exactly what she wants. She wants it all. She wants to rule the Seven Kingdoms, and if that gets broken up, then I don't know how happy she would be with that.
Jon has everything up north now, and he's been declared King of the North. He's got the support of all the families. He's got the support of the Wall, because Ed is the Lord Commander. It feels that his aunt's about to come over and take King's Landing. It feels as though everything is coming together for Jon. And what this surely has to mean is the end for Littlefinger and maybe the end for Sansa. Because unless something amazing happens, I've just got it drilled in my head that this fight against the dead is Jon. He is the one that leads the fight against the dead. And for that to be true, Littlefinger has to die.
Yeah, I don't know how.
And Sansa, I don't know. Because I get it. They did win the back end of the war, effectively. Without what they did, it wouldn't have happened. But it's happened now. The families have thrown their support behind Jon. He is the King of the North. You can't undo that.
No.
So I don't know what she does and if Littlefinger is going to manipulate her to the point of getting her on board, because she definitely showed some signs of she wants to lead and take over in the last season.
It'd be interesting to see what that look towards her and Littlefinger meant at the end of episode 10 and see what happens with that. But like you, I feel like Littlefinger, I'd be surprised if he lasts another season.
Littlefinger's look to Sansa, I took that as very much, I told you so.
Yeah, very similar. And
Sansa's look to Littlefinger says, I don't know what she's going to do about that.
Exactly. Will she put her support behind Jon, or will she be jealous of Jon? Does she want to rule the North? A lot of unanswered questions.
And what happens when Bran comes back? Because Bran technically outranks both of them.
Yeah, he's the Lord of Winterfell,
So I don't know what happens if Bran survives. I don't know if...
I mean, it's whether Bran wants it. Look what he's got a bigger job on now, hasn't he? A lot of what this war that's coming with the dead, he's got a massive part to play. Apparently, we've been told that for a long time now. So it depends what he wants if he survives whatever's coming.
Okay, I'll definitely do some more thinking on what happened ready for the season 7 intro. But I mean, it was just a packed episode. It was crazy.
I'll edit this intro into the season 7 episode 1 because we've covered it all off anyway.
I'm going to come back. I need a theory, so I need to come up with a theory and then come back. I don't know what theory I'm even going to really come up with.
You'll come up with some nonsense.
But let's do it. Let's jump into the season 6 lore. Please give the video a like if you haven't done so already. It's worth saying the channel we use for these. What's the name of the channel?
Thrones Insider.
Thrones Insider. And they've been so informative up to this stage. And I'm sure this is going to be no different. But please give the video a like if you haven't done so already. And we hope you enjoy.
The Doom took Valyria in minutes. But the rest of Essos wasn't so lucky. Out of the east swarmed the Dothraki. And there were no dragons to push them back. The Dothraki tide slammed first into the Sarnori, who called themselves the Tall Men, and whose ancient kingdom dominated the grasslands of Essos. The Tall Men at first scorned the Horse Lords as uncivilized barbarians, which they were. But Khal Mengo had united all of them into one Khalasar with one aim: to trample the world beneath their hooves and take other people's as their herd. One by one, the cities of the tall men were overwhelmed. Still, they wouldn't unite against the Dothraki. Many didn't believe the tales of the rare survivors. No army could move so fast or strike so quickly. They didn't know that the Dothraki live in the saddle and have such command over their horses that they seem to have 4 legs, not 2. Where most archers fire from foot, the Dothraki fire from horseback. Yeah. Charging or retreating, it makes no matter, they are just as deadly.
Yeah,
but the Dothraki prefer close combat, howling for blood as they ride down their enemies with their araks, and there were so many of them. When Khal Mango's son, Khal Moro, laid waste to the waterfall city of Safar, renaming it the Place of Wailing Children, the tall men finally realized their peril. Led by a High King, they assembled a great army to break the Khals once and for all, and met the Dothraki on what would ever after be known as the Field of Crows. The 4 Khals commanded almost 80,000 horsemen between them.
We've heard about this before.
Had 100,000 foot soldiers, 10,000 armored riders, 10,000 light horsemen, and 6,000 scythed chariots.
Wow.
As battle was joined, the earth-shattering advance of the tall men's chariots smashed through the center of the Dothraki horde, the spinning blades on their wheels slicing through the legs of the Dothraki horses. When one Khal went down before them, cut to pieces and trampled, his Khalasar broke and fled. The chariots thundered after the fleeing horsemen, and the High King and his armored riders plunged in after them, followed by their foot soldiers waving their spears and screaming in victory. But it was a trap. The Dothraki were not fleeing, as the tall men realized when the horse lords suddenly turned their horses and unleashed a storm of arrows.
Yeah.
2 more Khalasars swept down on the tall men's flanks, but another attacked them from the rear, cutting off their retreat. Completely encircled, the High King and his mighty hosts were destroyed. The tall men had stood for thousands of years. Now the crows feasted on their corpses.
Yeah, I was there.
The Dothraki squabbled over their valuables. The common wisdom is that the Dothraki tide finally broke upon the spears of the Unsullied at Quohor, saving Essos from the Horse Lords. In truth, the days when the Dothraki could threaten the entire world had already passed. The great Khalasar forged by Khal Mengo had splintered into a dozen hordes after the death of the last great Khal.
We saw this.
And the riders had resumed their petty feuds. The grasslands of Essos are now called the Dothraki Sea, but no more nations drown in it. Still, the Dothraki priestesses, the Dosh Khaleen, prophesied that one day the Dothraki will gather at Vaes Dothrak, their holy capital, and unite once more under the greatest Khal of them all, the stallion who mounts the world. He will lead their people to the ends of the earth and grind all nations to dust beneath them. I knew a Khaleesi who the priestesses said would give birth to this stallion. She didn't. No doubt the Dosh Khaleen have made the same prophecy before and will again. World conquest is an alluring dream, but few who dream it ever wake to its reality. Yet could the Dothraki, united behind one great leader, conquer the world? When I first came to Essos, I laughed at the idea. But now, most armies are either sellswords, paid to fight, who often refuse to die, or peasants called up from the fields and hovels. How long would those armies stand against the charge of 100,000 screamers howling for blood?
Yeah.
How well would boiled leather jerkins and mailed shirts protect them when the arrows fall like rain?
We've seen what sellswords are like repeatedly. They're not very reliable.
No, they go to the highest bidder, won't they?
Even I dreamed sometimes of being not a Stark of Winterfell, but a Dane of Starfall. Legend has it that the Dornish founder of House Dane followed a falling star to where it hit the ground, and there he raised his castle. A fantastic story, I know, but House Dane has a relic to prove it. Dorn, the most famous sword in Westeros. Forged from the fallen star's cold heart, and as strong and sharp as Valyrian steel. Many houses have ancestral swords passed from father to eldest son, like my own family's ice. But Dorn doesn't pass to the Lord of House Dane by right. To wield Dorn, a knight of their house must first be deemed worthy. It doesn't matter if he's the Lord, a younger brother, or a distant cousin. If none are found to be worthy, the blade stays on the mantle in Starfall until the next generation. But Dawn hasn't rested there often. From House Dane have risen some of the greatest warriors in Westeros. Varian Dane, who was a king and the greatest knight in Dawn before he was defeated by Nymeria.
Sword.
Because of his honor and his prowess, she sent him to the wall in golden fetters and took his heir as her husband. Joffrey Dane, who answered Aegon the Conqueror's demand to submit by invading Aegon's 7 kingdoms and marching an army to the gates of Old Town, where Aegon had been crowned. And the greatest of them all, Sir Arthur Dane.
So it is Dawn.
The Sword of the Morning.
Where that vision happened.
During
that's
the
where
reign
Arthur
of the
Dane
Mad
was,
King,
wasn't it?
a band of outlaws calling themselves the Kingswood Brotherhood terrorised the forest outside of King's Landing. Every force sent after them either returned empty-handed or vanished into the woods, never to be seen again. The king was furious and dispatched Sir Arthur of his own Kingsguard to deal with the threat. Sir Arthur didn't put the villagers to the question or set fire to the woods to smoke out the Brotherhood, as other forces had done. He paid the small folk for the food his men ate, brought their grievances to the king, even won them the right to take a few of the king's deer during the autumn. The forest folk had looked to the outlaws to defend them, but Sir Arthur did more for them than the outlaws could ever hope to do. When a villager led Sir Arthur and his knights to the outlaws' secret camp, the Brotherhood, to their credit, didn't flee. One of their leaders, the Smiling Knight, was a madman. Cruelty and honor jumbled together. But he didn't know fear, not even when Sir Arthur drew Dawn before him. Soon the outlaw's longsword had so many notches that Sir Arthur stopped to let him fetch a new one. The robber knight chose another and then asked for Dawn. Sir Arthur replied, "Then you shall have it." The Smiling Knight never smiled again. The mad fool.
You shall have it inside
Dawn
your
is
body.
just a sword. Sir Arthur was the true steel. Strong, brave, and loyal to a fault.
Seems like a
He
stand-up
never
guy.
evaded Rhaegar's abduction of my sister if his vows hadn't compelled him. And though we fought on opposite sides, I admired him. When I was younger, I wanted to be him. Every boy did.
This is the young Ned speaking,
I
the
killed
guy
him.
who played the younger version.
Yep.
Not in single combat,
Oh, there you
but
go.
as he was on his knees, a dagger in his back. I'll never forget the look in his eyes. He wasn't angry or betrayed. He'd done his duty to the last.
There's that building that...
Even though he found it dishonourable, and even though he knew what awaited me in that tower. Sir Arthur Dane died the greatest knight who ever lived. After Robert's coronation, I returned Dawn to Starfall. One day, House Dane will raise a worthy successor to Sir Arthur. Until then, Dawn gathers dust above the fire, with the dream of every boy in Westeros.
So his sword remains above
All
the
across
fire.
the Iron Islands, men sit around driftwood fires and drink to the old way.
This is your one.
When the Ironborn were feared, wherever the waves were heard.
No.
When our strength was in our ships,
11:37.
not our stories. I don't blame them. Drinking to the old way is easier than living it. Our ancestors took to the sea because the Iron Islands are shit without the crops that grow from it. 30 cold, wet rocks off the coast of Westeros, and a dozen more clustered around the lonely light deep in the Sunset Sea. But hard places breed hard men. The first men feared the sea. They had walked to Westeros, and even their fishermen never left sight of shore. I wish I could have seen the face of the first watchman to see our ships climb over the horizon. He was not the last. No matter how dark the night, or how high the waves, come dawn our prows cut through the morning mist and struck the beaches and riverbanks. Before the sun reached its height, we vanished again into the sea. Our longships filled with gold, food, scared children, and sobbing women. For thousands of years, the Ironborn reaped up and down
They took the women and
Sunset
children as
Sea,
well.
driving the men of the Greenlands far inland, or into
Doesn't
walled
surprise me when it
castles
comes
where
to the
they paid
Ironborn.
us tribute.
No.
In the depth of winter, we feasted, while the men who had planted and harvested crops starved. Their sons worked our mines. and their daughters warmed our beds. The stories claim that the old way died with Herne the Black and his sons at Harrenhal. Our ships and axes were no match for Aegon's dragons, so our ancestors bent their steel into fishhooks and our kingdom into villages, and started telling the red tales around the fire of how we used to be strong, and how one day we would be so again. Generations later, a young boy listened to them. Dalton Greyjoy, the wild young heir to Pike, was rowing at 5 and reeving at 10 in the Basilisk Isles with his uncle. By 14, Dalton had sailed as far as Old Geese, fought in 12 battles, and claimed 4 soft wives. In his 15th year, he avenged his uncle's death in battle, but he took 12 wounds and emerged from the fight, drenched head to heel in blood. From that day forth, men called him the Red Kraken.
The North is the oldest and largest of the 7 kingdoms, but House Stark has not always held it. When Bran the Builder raised Winterfell and founded our line, we were vassals to the Barrow Kings, who claimed descent from the First King and thus dominion over all the First Men. But after the Long Night, it was our house who built the wall and set the Night's Watch to guard the realms of men, whilst our king sat in his barrow. My ancestors eventually revolted, waging what singers call the 1,000 Years' War to free our lands.
That's a mad transition.
Other families joined us, recognizing that the North is a cold and hard land and needed a king who served its people before himself. Finally, the last Barrow King bent the knee, and House Stark became the Kings of Winter. Yet we were kings in name only, for by then the North had fractured into petty kingdoms, and my ancestors would struggle to unite it again for thousands of years.
Yes.
Roderick Stark wrestled an Ironborn lord for Bear Island and granted it to House Mormont when he won. A younger son of our family, Carlon Stark, won his own keep after he put down a rebellion and founded House Karstark, one of the most powerful in the North. When the Manderleys were exiled from the Reach, my ancestors shielded them and gave them a home at the mouth of the White Knife, in return for holding the river against pirates and invaders. Now they're one of the wealthiest houses in the North. I'm not so naive to pretend that the entire North welcomed Stark rule. The last Warg King was slain at Sea Dragon Point along with all his sons and beasts. The last Marsh King died at the hands of King Rickard Stark, and House Reed has held the swamps of the Neck ever since. Houses Greenwood, Towers, Amber, Frost. None survive today as more than names in dusty old books.
You got was down, yeah?
But my ancestors never wanted to destroy their foes' root and stem.
Families are gone.
The Umbers of Last Hearth and the Glovers of Deepwood Motte bent the knee and became loyal vassals of House Stark. The Red Kings of House Bolton wore cloaks made from the skins of Stark princes they'd flayed. And one of the Boltons was even known as the Red Arm, because he liked to plunge an arm into the bellies of captive Starks and pull out their entrails with his bare hand.
Oh, yeah.
The North deserved to be wiped clean of them.
Are you Ramsay?
Yet my ancestors spared them after their defeat because they believed the North couldn't afford to fight itself any longer. Time soon proved them right. When the Andals swept into Westeros, they obliterated all the kingdoms of the First Men except the North. Each of the southern kingdoms fought the invaders on its own, but the North fought as one. When the Andals tried to sail up the White Knife, the Manderleys fell on their ships. When the Andals tried to march an army through the Neck, the Reeds fell on their soldiers. King Theon Stark even sailed his own army to the Andal homeland for vengeance and slew hundreds of Andal warriors.
Did you say Theon Stark?
When he returned, he planted their heads on spikes along our coasts. A warning to other would-be conquerors. The warning was heeded for thousands of years, until Aegon the Conqueror. The South had already fallen to Aegon and his dragons, only the North remained.
Living with them.
My ancestor, King Torrhen Stark, marched the north down to the Trident and beheld Aegon's army, larger than Torrhen's own by half, and with 3 dragons circling overhead.
He bent the knee,
Many Northern bannermen wanted to attack anyway, claiming Northern valor would carry the day. Others wanted to fall back to Moat Cailin and make a stand there. But Torrhen had heard how the armies of the Rock and the Reach had burned on the field of fire, and had seen the fires still glowing beneath the rubble of Harrenhal. He knelt and laid his ancient crown at Aegon's feet, and rose a king no more but Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North. Some Northerners still sneer at my ancestor as the king who knelt, forgetting that because of Torrhen, they're alive today to sneer. Their ancestors didn't leave their burned bones at the Trident, and their twisted swords didn't fill Aegon's new throne. Now many say that House Stark is dead and gone, and House Bolton holds the North. But the North remembers who united it. The North remembers who defended it, and the North remembers who stole it.
Exactly.
Long ago, my ancestors spared the Boltons, trusting their oaths of fealty. I shall correct that mistake.
Not anymore.
Even the North can forget when there's nothing left to remember.
Yeah. So the Boltons always were a bit of a pain. I'm guessing the whole point of that is that when the North comes together, they can achieve anything.
Yes. Their sigils, calling themselves bears, lions, or stags, as if a cloth banner could make them so. That isn't the way of House Tarly. Our sigil is the huntsman pulling his bow, and it isn't some idle fancy. As soon as a son of House Tarly can hold a spoon, he gets a bow. As soon as the boy can sit a horse, his father takes him on a hunt. They return with a stag, a buck, a boar, a brace of pheasant, even if it takes days. Even if it takes a week. Even if it takes the boy's whole life. Horn Hill is ours. A fitting home for one of the oldest and most honorable families.
Amazing building, I've got to say.
Legend
really
has
was.
it
Really
that
impressive.
Harlan the Hunter and Herndon of the Horn, two sons of Garth the Greenhand, raised the castle in the Age of Heroes, and shared a home and a wife for 100 years. Most of the great houses spout such nonsense about their origins. At least my family doesn't claim some long-lost ancient crown like the rest of them. House Tarly breeds soldiers, not kings. When House Gardner ruled the Reach, we served them well and loyally. When House Gardner died, and Aegon gave the Reach to their stewards, the Tyrells, we served them well and loyally. We know our place, even if the Tyrell women don't.
Oh.
When Aegon's son faced rebellion from the Vulture King of Dawn, my ancestor, Savage Sam Tarly, led the royal forces on a vulture hunt.
Savage Sam Tarly.
Heartsbane, our ancestral Valyrian sword and the pride of our house,
now owned by Sam,
soon ran red from point to hilt with rebel blood. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against Aerys, I led the Tyrell van and handed him his only defeat in the war at Ashford.
Yeah, we forget about that.
Knows that a moment's slip can cost him the game. Great houses have fallen from a single weak heir.
That's why I was going to say send Samwell
looked
away.
like a son when he was born, but he grew up plump and soft as a daughter. I'd catch him in the kitchen shoving cakes into his ever-growing mouth, or reading in the garden when he was supposed to be training. I brought masters at arms
always a knife
from
and
all
books,
over Westeros to make a man of him. He slept in chainmail, bathed in bull's blood, was dressed in his mother's clothes and paraded through the castle to shame him into valor.
Wow.
He only grew fatter and more craven. I despaired of the future of our house until my wife gave me another boy, Dickon, a real son and worthy heir. Or he would have been, if Sam wasn't squatting in his way. One morning, I had Sam brought into the woods outside the castle.
This is when it happened, wasn't
I told him
Yeah.
he'd given me no cause to disown him, but Heartsbane should go to a man strong enough to wield her. And Sam wasn't worthy to touch her hilt. Either he would take the black and renounce all claim to his brother's sword and title, or I would hunt him down like the pig he was. Of course, faced with danger and exertion, he chose the coward's path.
Oh, so you really did want to hunt him.
Waddled north to the wall.
Yeah. Just wanted him dead.
Some may call me cruel for what I did.
Think?
Yeah. Wonder
But
why.
I don't care. I am responsible for House Tarly, as my father was before me and his father before him. If the hunter returns with empty hands, his family starves. If the warrior carries an empty scabbard, his home burns. House Tarly has stood for thousands of years. It will not fall on my watch. No matter how many tears my family sheds.
Be interesting to see if it does fall now.
Kingslayer.
Seems like he cares more about the family name than his actual family.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just nuts.
Though many can't even name the king I slayed. I understand.
Jamie.
To them, I'm a symbol of everything they'll never have and a warning that'll never apply, so they can loathe me from the safety of their small lives. But when a dog goes mad, we put it down. Why not a king? I was never supposed to be on the King's Guard. Oh, as a boy, I dreamed of the White Cloak like all boys, but I was heir to Tywin Lannister, Hand of the King. If he forbade the tides, the waves would cease. Then I was 15, and my father was congratulating me on my new knighthood in the Red Keep. I wonder if that was the last time he was proud of me. That night, there was a knock on my door, and I opened it to find my sister Cersei disguised as a simple serving girl. I hadn't seen her since my father had taken her to court when she was 12. She had grown up, as had I.
Is this when they had sex?
She told me
I think so.
that my father planned to marry me off to Lysa Tully, but she could arrange for the king to raise me to the King's Guard so I could stay in the city with her.
Lysa Tully.
All I had to do was agree. I made the obvious objections. Our family, our father, Casterly Rock. Until she asked, "Is it a rock you want, or me?" Come morning, she had my consent. I would join the King's Guard for her. I would forswear my lands and title for her. I would forsake our family for her. Soon, a royal raven commanded my father to present me to the king during the great tourney at Harrenhal to say my vows. My father erupted in fury. He could not object openly, but he resigned the handship and returned to Casterly Rock, taking Cersei with him. Instead of being together, Cersei and I exchanged places. Then, everything started to fall apart. At Harrenhal, King Aerys made a great show of my investiture. I knelt before him in gleaming armor and swore the oath of the King's Guard. When Sir Gerald Hightail raised me up and put the white cloak on my shoulders, a roar went up from the crowd. I admit, despite my father's anger, I was happy and foolish. That very night, Aerys soured, commanding me to return to the Red Keep to guard the Queen and little Prince Viserys. Sir Gerald offered to take that duty himself so I might compete in the tourney, but Aerys refused. "He'll win no glory here," the king said. "He's mine now, not Tywin's. He'll serve as I see fit." That was when I understood. It was not my skill or valor that had won me this honor.
His
The
name?
Mad King had chosen me to spite my father and steal his heir.
Yes.
I wanted to rip off the white cloak, but it was too late. A King's Guard serves for life, so I upheld my oath, confined to the Red Keep where Varys could watch me and where the headsman could find me if my father displeased the king. I served the king's pleasure as he burned Rickard Stark alive and strangled his son, inciting the rebellion.
Oh, that was mad, that story, what happened there.
Yeah, it was.
Many forget that I also tried to defend the king from harm. I knew we were lost and sent to Aerys, asking his leave to make terms. My man came back with a royal command. "Bring me your father's head if you are no traitor." Aerys Targaryen was alone in his throne room when I found him, picking at his scabbed and bleeding hands. The fool was always cutting himself on the Iron Throne. Burn them, he kept muttering.
That's when he gave the
Aerys had
order.
decided to let Robert be king
Yeah,
after
we saw a
all,
clip of it,
over
didn't
the
we?
charred
Yeah.
bones and
Yeah, we
ashes
did.
of King's Landing. He must have thought his pyromancer was near enough to obey him, but I'd killed him a few minutes before in the courtyard. As I approached the throne, sanity flashed behind the king's eyes for a moment, just long enough to read the look in mine. His eyes grew huge and the royal mouth drooped open in shock. He turned and ran. A single thrust was all it took to end the greatest dynasty the world had ever seen. Beneath the empty eyes of the dead dragons on the walls, the last dragon king squealed like a pig and shat himself.
Oh,
So easy, I thought. A king should die harder than this.
Mad to
My
think how
father's
differently
knights
this could have
burst
been
into the hall in
if
time to
this
see the
hadn't
last
happened.
of it, so
Yeah.
there was
Yeah, it
no
really
way
is.
for me to vanish and let some braggart steal the glory or blame. I knew at once when I saw the way they looked at me, it would be blame. Lannister or no,
Dad
I
found
belonged
him,
to
didn't he?
Varys' Kingsguard.
Yes.
I commanded them to announce that the Mad King was dead and to spare all those who yielded. They asked me if they should proclaim a new king as well. I knew what they meant. Would it be my father or Robert Baratheon or maybe the child Viserys who'd fled to Dragonstone? A Targaryen boy king with my father's hand to rule in truth. I thought of how Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon would howl at this end to their great heroic war, and I was tempted. Then I glanced down again at Aerys, his life's blood oozing from the wound and pooling on the floor around him.
So the blood on the floor was
Bloody
making
well
up their
like it, sir.
sigils.
I climbed the
cool.
steps to the
I
Iron
missed that.
Throne and sat on it with my sword across my knees, waiting to see who would come to claim the kingdom.
So he himself even sat in the Iron Throne to see who would come and claim it. Maybe Jamie
Westeros has
kills
7
Cersei and
kingdoms,
becomes king.
but the Iron Islands have hundreds. Every ship on the waves is a kingdom, and every captain on his deck is a king. The mainlanders will bow to a man whose only claim is dropping out of the right cunt. But the Ironborn spend their lives at sea. We know that if a captain is weak, his men drown. If he's foolish, his men drown. But if he's strong, his men carve their names into the world with blood, steel, and song. Any man with a ship may claim the Salt Throne, but the rest of the Ironborn have to give it to him in the Kingsmoot. Our
saw that at
priest
Kingsmoot,
claims
so
the
it's
first
not just
king of
passed
the
down
Iron
because of who you
Islands was
are,
the Grey
it's
King,
like
who
an election
ruled
almost,
over the
isn't
sea itself in the dawn of days. He took a mermaid to wife and stole fire from the storm god, and carved the first ship from a demon tree that fed on human flesh. When he died, his 100 sons slaughtered each other until only 16 remained.
Oh, wow.
Since none could overpower the rest in battle, they came together and chose the strongest to be their king. And so began the tradition of the Kingsmoot.
He had 100 sons.
That's mad.
A good story for children who don't know that grey is what men become after their strength has fled, or that brothers do not easily submit. Over the centuries, the Kingsmoot has raised the greatest of the Ironborn. Corrid Horror, whose word was law whenever men could smell the salt air or hear the crash of waves. He sacked Old Town and defeated the River King, taking 3 young sons as hostages. When their father's tribute was late, Corrid cut out their hearts with his own hand.
Oh,
When
wow.
the father marched for vengeance, Corrid smashed his army and gave this River King to the drowned god. Harwin Horror, born to a king who had a fleet he didn't sail and swords he didn't blood. As an unruly and worthless youngest son, Harwin was sent away to the east to vanish, and so he did. But when his father died, Harwin returned to the Iron Islands for the Kingsmoot. An elder brother objected, so an elder brother fell off a horse, and at the Kingsmoot no man objected. Harwin launched his father's ships for Westeros and took 10 times the Iron Islands from its weak lords, who never expected to face an Ironborn king as skilled on land as at sea. For Harwin had reaved with Eastern pirates and served with
Well, yeah, it's not what they do, is it, normally?
And learned
No,
more
it's not.
war than
No,
the
it's definitely
Ironborn could imagine. After Aegon and his dragons burned our last king, Harren the Black, and broke our armies, the defeated Ironborn chose my ancestor, Vakon Greyjoy, as Lord of the Iron Islands, not king. For centuries after, the Kingsmoot was a joke that the Ironborn didn't get. When a Lord Greyjoy died, captains would meet and choose his eldest son to succeed him. Of course, they argued over it just long enough to show they weren't now like the very mainlanders they despised. Once more, we have a true king, my own brother Balon, who had the balls to seize the Driftwood crown, but not the brains to hold it. He is the first king the Iron Islands have had in centuries, and the fool would be the last. The Kingsmoot once chose him over me. they will not have that choice next time.
Ah, so he held in that for a very long time then. Sounds like he was bitter from the start.
Yeah, he
No
seems
army
the
in
type
the
of
Seven
Greyjoy that
Kingdoms
wants
can
more than
match
just
the
the Iron
pride
Islands
and
as well.
chivalry of
Balon
the
was very
Knights of
happy
the
to
Vale.
stay there, wasn't he?
After all, they were the first true knights in Westeros.
Littlefinger.
The Knights of the Vale were originally the Knights of Andalos, an eastern nation whose people invaded Westeros thousands of years ago. From the sea, the Vale seemed to the Andals an ideal new home, a wide, fertile valley isolated from the rest of Westeros and its kingdoms by a great mountain range. The first men who held it, moreover, were sparse and divided, and waded into battle with bronze axes and armor that couldn't match Andal horses and steel. But what the first men lacked in weaponry, they made up for in ferocity. Finally uniting behind King Robar Royce, the first men smashed the Andals in battle after battle, reclaiming the Vale and pushing the invaders back to the sea from whence they'd come.
Wonder if that Royce is related to the
Learning
Royce
from
we
the
know.
first men, the remaining Andals united behind a
Lord
leader of
Royce
their
we
own.
know him as, I think.
Not a king or a lord, but a knight who'd been born in the Vale and knew it as well as the first men. Sir Artus Arryn, known as the Falcon Knight. The armies of the first men and the Andals met beneath the Giant's Lance to decide the fate of the Vale. Sir Artus had many more mounted knights than the first men, who preferred to fight on foot. But the first men had seized the high ground, digging trenches in front of their ranks and lining them with sharpened stakes smeared with offal and excrement. 6 times the Andal knights charged, and 6 times the first men threw them back. But on the 7th, a fearsome Andal warrior broke through the ranks of the first men, and the Andals rushed through the gap. If King Robar had been wiser, he would have retreated and saved his army for another day. Then again, if he'd been wise at all, he'd never have risked his army of foot soldiers against mounted knights in the first place. When King Robar saw the falcon helm of Sir Artus across the field, he wagered that the Andals would break if they lost their leader, and rode hard for the Falcon Knight. The singers paint a pretty picture of the battle. The king in flashing bronze armor, the knight in silvered steel. But the duel lasted no longer than a verse of the songs. For King Robar had taken a Valyrian sword off a dead Andal lord, and it sheared through Sir Artus' helm much like a bird's wing through the air.
Wow.
As the Falcon Knight tumbled to earth, King Robar thought he'd won his desperate gamble. Then he heard the trumpets behind him. When he turned, he saw 500 fresh Andal knights pouring down the Giant's Lance. And the man at its head was also the man at Robar's feet. For Sir Artus, unique in that age, or indeed any age, esteemed cunning even more than martial strength, and had clad one of his knights in his spare suit of armor, leaving him to die at Robar's hand, while Sir Artus took his best horsemen up a goat track he knew from childhood. The charge of the Andal knights broke the last great army of the first men, who would never again threaten the new knights of the Vale. Some of the defeated would even join their ranks in the years to come, but many more fled to the mountains, choosing savagery over submission. Ever since, the Knights of the Vale enjoyed an exclusive position in Westeros.
Yeah, this is the shot I remember.
They could sally forth from the Vale at will, knowing that if battle went against them, they could retreat through the Bloody Gate, where no army could follow. Until the dragons changed the game. When Aegon the Conqueror landed in Westeros,
well, we know they're coming
Queen
again.
Regent of the Vale shut the Bloody Gate against the Targaryens and massed the Knights of the Vale behind it.
It's such a fortress against people on foot,
But
even on
Visenya
horses.
simply flew her dragon to a balcony of the Eyrie where the boy king was playing, and gave the boy a ride round the castle in return for his mother's submission. With the conquest, no more could the Knights of the Vale hide behind their mountains, nor, they soon discovered, did they need to. For thousands of years, the other kingdoms had warred and treated to balance each other's might, whilst the Vale kept to itself. None realized what power the Vale could have until Jon Arryn defied the Iron Throne, refusing to surrender Ned Stark and Robert Baratheon to the Mad King. The North, the Riverlands, and the Stormlands couldn't have beaten the other 3 kingdoms by themselves, but the Knights of the Vale rode with them. Now the North is freezing, the Riverlands are burnt, the Stormlands are spent, Dorne is distant, the Westerlands are weakened, and the Reach is paralyzed.
Strong.
Of all the great armies in Westeros, only the Knights of the Vale have yet to suffer exhaustion or defeat.
I always thought there was going to be a
opening
big
again
battle
onto
here,
Westeros,
but I'm
and
not
through
sure
it
now, given the positioning that's out there.
Opportunity.
No, they're in the north. It's not looking like it at the moment.
I mean, that goat path they mentioned, I'm guessing that was so unknown. That must have been so precarious.
And that makes sense as to why the initial battle between the Falcon Knight and King Robor was so quick.
But neither race sought to destroy the other, or lay claim to the continent. They couldn't. The children hunted and fought with dragonglass arrows and spears, and the giants had only the branches they pulled from trees. Nor could both races fill more than one of the 7 kingdoms of today. Then the southern deserts coughed up a new race, the First Men, who had crossed the narrow sea over the Armored Dorne. Unlike the children and giants, the First Men lived in huts and villages and farmed the land to eat. And there were so many. As the numbers swelled, men needed ever more fields and timber. Of course, they saw that the great forests could provide both. When they cut into the deep woods, however, they stumbled on a strange sight. A white tree with red leaves and a face staring back at them.
Can't cut those
down. At first, they were afraid, but the face never spoke, even when the axe bit into it. The First Men didn't know what a werewood was. They didn't know that a werewood grows forever if left in peace, or that the native children believed their spirits went into it after death. The children had no letters or runes, all of the history, songs and prayers, only the trees remembered. When the children looked at the cleared fields, they saw not white stumps, but their ancestors now lost forever, with their bones stolen to line the invaders' walls. Driven mad by grief, the children attacked. The First Men had never seen a werewood, but the children had never seen bronze. Their dragonglass arrows glanced off the First Men's shields,
isn't it?
And their armor of woven bark split beneath the First Men's swords.
Yeah, bronze
As the war
versus
raged,
dragonglass.
the children resorted to the one advantage they had, the magic of their old gods. Their green seers enlisted dire wolves and snow bears, cave lions and eagles, mammoths and serpents. In return, the First Men cut down and burned every werewood they could find, fearing that the children would spy on them through the faces in the trees. The children became desperate. Their green seers called down the Hammer of Waters to break the Arm of Dorne, destroying the bridge that men crossed into Westeros, and to flood the neck to contain men to the south. But the First Men would not be stopped. Fearing extinction, the children combined their powers for one last spell that would save their people and their land from the invaders. By themselves, the children were too few to resist the onslaught. But if they could turn men's numbers against them? After hundreds of years and untold death and destruction, the wisest heads of the children and the First Men finally prevailed. The children couldn't win this war, and the First Men didn't want to win, fearing the cost of victory. Heroes and rulers on both sides met upon an isle in the God's Eye to form the pact. The children gave up all the lands of Westeros, save for the deep forests, and the First Men swore that they would no longer cut down the werewoods. Thus ended the Dawn Age and began the Age of Heroes.
I wonder if the children have now died out because of what
must
happened
come the night.
with Bran and
The great
Hodor.
evil that the children
Yeah, maybe
unleashed
we don't know
in
how
the
many there
war
are left.
returned centuries later and only an alliance between the children and men defeated it. Now it comes again, when the children are a shadow of what they were, and men have long forgotten. But the trees remember, and Brandon Stark must learn. Or, as we watched the first men, so we will watch the last.
Oh, yeah. White Walkers in the background.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the guy talking there was the one who, the three-eyed raven before Bran took over.
Oh, yeah,
wealthiest and greatest
say it, I
city in
recognise the voice.
Though King's Landing is more populous.
Qyburn the boy.
And arguably more powerful.
The city straddles the mouth of the Honeywine River, and the bounty of the entire Reach flows beneath its great stone bridges to ports that are renowned throughout the world.
Is that Pycelle as well?
I think so, yeah.
More interesting is the history.
Given how much they hate each other, that's kind of
Well,
funny.
none can say when it was founded. Many centuries ago, a few bold maesters sought out the children of the forest, who claimed that men have lived at the mouth of the Honeywine since the Dawn Age.
Nonsense. Maester Jellicoe proved that the city began as a trading post.
Still arguing.
Where ships from Valyria, Old Geese and the Summer Isles put in to replenish their provisions and make repairs.
I mean, Qyburn won this battle,
Hence
didn't
the
he?
most famous feature of the city, the High Tower. Raised even before the city walls, as a beacon through the fog-covered waters. Originally built of wood and standing a mere 50 feet above the ancient fortress of its foundation, it is now thick stone and rises even taller than the wall. Those born and raised in Old Town can tell the time of day by where its shadow falls.
But no maester can tell why. Even in our oldest records, the island on which it
That's where
stands
Sam is now, isn't it, that building?
Battle Isle. What battle was fought there, and when? As for the ancient fortress that forms the tower's base, its walls and interiors are all of solid black stone with no hints of joins or mortar, and no chisel marks of any kind. We know it predates the tower itself by thousands of years, but who built it?
Yeah.
How?
And how, yeah.
And against what?
Yeah.
The maesters who have studied it declare it to be of Valyrian construction, akin to Dragonstone and the Black Walls of Volantis. As is well known, the Dragon Lords of Valyria could turn stone to liquid with dragon flame to shape as they wished.
Didn't one Archmaester link the fortress to the vanished maze makers of Lorath, and another maester to the legendary Deep Ones who inhabited the Iron Islands before the Ironborn?
All these different views.
Both marginal opinions without common support. But of more importance than the origin of the tower is the family to which it gave its name. House Hightower, the ancient ruling family of Old Town, known for their prudence and love of peace.
And pieces of gold.
During the Age of Heroes, when Lymond Hightower saw the Gardener Kings conquering the Reach, he didn't beat them on the battlefield, but in the God's Wood. He bound his house to theirs by marriage, and transformed House Hightower from wealthy but relatively minor kings to the greatest lords of the Reach. Thanks to Lord Lymond's foresight, Highgarden has always defended Old Town, allowing the Hightowers to focus on higher pursuits such as learning and trade.
On that we agree. When the Andals
Finally, they
invaded
agree on
Westeros,
something.
Lord Dorian Hightower told his wife of 20 years that wars are bad for trade, and to make his point, traded her for a young Andal princess. When Aegon the Conqueror was earning his name, House Hightower traded its loyalty to the Gardeners for his confirmation of their rights, welcoming him with open arms and open gates.
House Hightower bent the knee to Aegon to spare the city from his dragons. I would think such insinuations and insults beneath even you, Qyburn. And again, mockery of one's betters is the trade of fools.
I wouldn't
that
know.
lure was that. It's
Perhaps
always
if
been
I'd
there,
studied
hasn't
at the
it?
Citadel as long as
What's
you,
that?
Grand Maester.
So is that what
The
the
Citadel
the
is
Tyrell
the
women
greatest
do
seat of
to
learning
try
in the
and
known world.
get people to do what
Without
they want?
it, and the
Oh,
maesters
yeah,
it
maybe.
trains,
Yeah.
Westeros would be a land of superstition and ignorance.
Like the ignorance that shrouds the Citadel's own birth?
Even without records, we have more than enough reason to believe that the Citadel began as a court of scholars and priests,
Some noses.
assembled by
I
a
was looking at
second
the
son of
noses as
House
well.
Hightower.
Joined to
When
the
he
eyebrows.
died, his elder brother raised the citadel so that wise men would always have a home in Westeros and could continue the inquiries and debates that had given such joy to his younger brother.
His little brother's pets, as legend has it, he called them, and so the maesters have remained, only their masters have changed. Now they serve every lord with a castle, for a fee, of course, whilst the citadel serves its own importance.
They both paint very different pictures of the
Every
citadel,
word
don't
you
they?
speak merely validates your own expulsion from our ranks.
Knowledge is validation enough. I assumed the world's greatest minds would agree, and perhaps they would if I'd met them. Old Town is a city for old men and old beliefs.
That was a dig at Pycelle.
The world is changing. No matter how high the tower, the clouds will not hold it up if the ground shifts beneath it.
I mean, that's true.
Is that the mountain? Like the mountain behind?
Oh, I don't know.
Circling the Jade Sea is
Big,
the dream of every
Big
merchant.
helmet.
And the other side is the golden empire of Yeti, which was ancient when the Valyrians were still fucking goats. Even its ruins dwarf every city in Westeros. And its princes are said to live in houses of solid gold and feast on meat powdered with pearls and jade. Foolish talk. If it were true, I would have visited them long ago. But a bold merchant will risk 2 years for one voyage, to fatten his holds with spices, gems, and silks, so that he never wants for anything again. To be fair, many never do, because my ship, Silence, finds them on their return. Their merchant dreams look so pitiful poured out on my decks. Not enough for any lifetime but their own. Traders from the Summer Islands make tougher prey. Not even the Silence can run down their sworn ships on the open sea. When we take them by surprise, our rams splinter and crack against their hulls, carved from rare hardwoods of the Summer Islands, and fitted together without a single nail. Worse, every sworn ship carries a company of archers armed with golden hard bows, which can hurl the shaft hard enough to pierce steel plate. After all that trouble, we often find their holes filled only with maps, fruit, and wooden trinkets. Hardly worth our time and blood, except for their women. To worship their god, all women of the Summer Islands learn to fuck. It's enough to make a man devout. Ebony's whalers are the most worthless of prices. The men of Ib are short, thick, and hairy. So are their women. Not even tales of their six-breast content men to take them.
Six breasts, that'd be mad.
It would be.
That freaked me out.
Their great-bellied whalers can weather any storm and withstand the assaults of the largest beasts. In battle, the Ebonese are incredibly strong, and even their blood reeks of blubber and oil, and their holds are rarely worth scrubbing our decks free of the stench. When our holds were full or needed repair, we set a course for the greatest safe harbor of the Summer Sea, the Basilisk Isles, Port Plunder, Stye, or Skash. No map can find these towns, nor can the laws of men. The slavers keep their captives in caves on the Isle of Tears. Pirates trade their goods on Barter Beach, and hire fresh crews from the murderers filling every inn. Great piles of old yellow skulls line the shores of one deserted island. Offerings from captains who have fresh heads pinned to their masts. Once every generation, the free cities send fleets to destroy the towns and hang every man they find. They do, and the towns are abandoned to rot and sink back into the slime. But come the next year, another Port Plunder sprouts up somewhere else on the Isles.
Yeah.
Like a toadstool from a new pile of shit.
That's kind of the problem.
For many years, I brought silence to the Summer Sea. But when I close my eyes, I hear the waves breaking below the bridges of Pike. I hear the Kingsmouth chanting my brother's name. Reavers paid the iron price no gold can buy, and no iron can take. I must pay with fire and blood.
Wanted to marry Daenerys, didn't he?
Yeah, he
In
wants
the
the Iron
long
Throne
and
as well.
glorious history of men butchering each other, we river folk make the best meat.
Tullies.
How else can you explain why anyone would
Blackfish,
stay in a
isn't it?
land of constant carnage for thousands of years? If it wasn't the first men killing the children of the forest here, it was the Andals killing the first men and then each other. Even when the Riverlands finally united behind the kings of House Justman, the unusual silence of peace attracted the Storm Lords, Westermen, and those bloody Ironborn to try and take our grain, gold, and women. The problem is, and has always been, that the Riverlands have no natural defenses. Unlike the North, we don't have the neck to keep invaders waist-deep in muck. Unlike the Vale, we don't have mountains with narrow passes easily defended by stable boys with slings. Unlike Dawn, we don't have a blazing sun and, well, the Dornish. My ancestors may have had a funny taste in sigils, but they knew one thing. If you plan on staying in the Riverlands, you'd better have a strong castle. My ancestor, Axel Tully, bright man that he was, realized that most soldiers can't swim, and raised his castle of Riverrun where the Red Fork and the Tumblestone rivers meet.
Yeah.
He built right up to the water
Smart.
on each
Good
side,
design, especially
daring
as most
attackers
people
to force
attacking will be
across
wearing
them.
armour. You can't
If they
swim in
wore
that.
armour, they'd drown. If they didn't, our archers would feather them from the
It's
battlements
good
as
strategic
they
position. We
paddled.
saw that when he parlayed with Jaime.
An army could still
just
assault
that one
River
bridge,
Run from the
isn't it, that
west, however.
lets
So
them
my
in.
ancestors dug a wide moat along our western wall, connecting the rivers on either side of the castle. When any would-be conquerors showed up, we opened a series of gates and flooded the moat, transforming River Run into an island fortress with enough stores to last years. As the invaders starved in their camps, they'd watch us fish off our walls, just for variety, and because we were bored.
Yeah, it's
You're
great.
fishing in the middle of a
Skulk
war.
home.
Great place for a siege, isn't it?
In the 1,000 years that River Run has stood, not once has it been taken by force. It's a proper castle. You want it? You have to marry into it. Even the damned Freys knew that much. Up-jumped toll collectors living on a bridge instead of beneath it like the
Toll
rest of their kind.
collectors, that's all they are.
But finally, a Lord of the Crossing passed off one of his brood to his liege lord, House Tully. My nephew Edmure. People say Lord Walder arranged the Red Wedding to punish Robb Stark. I say he did it just as much to steal
He has brought that up a
River
few
Run.
times about how long they
always
submitted
envied
to
our
them.
castle.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe they think 2 rivers can wash off the filth that coats them. They'll never know. The Lannisters could grant Riverrun to the Freys for 1,000 years, but that doesn't mean they can have it. Do you think it was hard to convince Tully's soldiers to turn against the Freys? Do you think we won't enjoy watching them simper as winter bears down on their pitiful camp? I even carved a fishing
Feet up.
rod for the occasion. When the starving Freys look up at our walls, we'll wave our trouts at them.
Explains why the Freys wanted it in the first place, I guess, if that's what used to happen in the past.
He got a really rough deal
King
when it came
Robert
to his
still
death.
lived,
Like, it's
and
quite a
Lord
biggish
Eddard
character. He
Stark
died
had
off
just survived
screen.
an ambush by Jaime Lannister in King's Landing. We were the King's men, charged by the King's hand to bring the King's justice to the false knight Gregor Clegane, who was raping and murdering the King's subjects in the Riverlands. To be honest, I cared more about the King's cellars, but I joined Lord Beric for the adventure. And maybe a grateful milkmaid or two. Sir Gregor isn't called the Mountain because of his subtlety, yet he took us by surprise at the Mummer's Ford. He'd hidden his men on both banks, and as we crossed, he fell upon us from the front and rear. I saw a single blow from his sword take a man's arm off and kill the horse beneath
Some
him.
swing.
Many of us, though, were simply ridden down and drowned. The survivors spotted my damn red cloak and rallied around me, and we cut our way free. 100 men we'd been that morning. By dark, only 40 were left, and Lord Beric looked to make us 39 before morning.
Brought him back.
I drew a foot of lance from his chest and poured boiling wine into the hole it left, but I knew there was no hope. When his light failed, I shut his eyes, placed my hands on his cold chest, and mumbled a half-remembered blessing over his body. because he was my commander.
And this is how it started.
And my friend.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what else to do.
Eyes open.
Then
so the first
I felt
time
his
was an
heart
accident.
thud beneath his breast. His body shuddered as the fire of life rekindled inside it. I used to joke that I became a red priest because the robes hid the wine stains, but the wine itself hid an unbelieving heart. When Beric's eyes opened, so did mine. I fell to my knees and praised the one true God and begged forgiveness for my ways. I don't know if the Lord heard me, but when dawn came, Beric was still alive and stronger than he'd been. He told us that our war hadn't ended at the Mummers Ford, but begun, and that every fallen brother would be avenged. We were so few, though, that all we could do was harry the Lannisters' rear. Luckily, all they could do was kill Beric. A Lannister mace shattered his helm and skull. A noose snapped his neck after he surrendered himself to save a beekeeper
Lost an eye
and
at
his
some
wife.
point.
The mountain's dirt pierced his eye through his visor. After each time, I stood over his corpse and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord brought him back. Then we heard that Robert was dead, and Lord Eddard too. We'd been sent by the king's hand to deal with outlaws, but now we were the outlaws, and Lord Tywin was the hand of the king. Some wanted to yield, but Beric wouldn't hear of it. We were still king's men, he said, and these were the king's people the lions were savaging. If we could not fight for Robert, we would fight for them, until every man of us was dead.
Most it sounds like with the people that
Fire
left
and
and
blood
didn't go home
make
afterwards.
poor tools,
Like a vigilante group.
as kings make poor servants. House Targaryen called themselves dragons long after the last beast died.
Who's this?
Perhaps
High
it's
Sparrow.
only fitting that even their humility was monstrous. Men worshipped on Visenya's hill thousands of years before Visenya came, and Baelor raised the sanctum
Most arrogant,
that bears
humble
his
guy
name.
who ever existed.
Yeah.
The massive dome and towers of the great sept of Baelor can be seen from anywhere in the city, but not from the vast countryside that paid for it. Its 7 bells can be heard as far as Dragonstone whenever a king dies, but none tolled for the stonemasons, glaziers, and smiths who built it. The Great Sept was built to impress upon a man how much greater the gods are than him. A noble goal, and in that it succeeds. Within the main chamber, the sun streams through a 7-pointed star to illuminate the 7 towering over mortals. The crone with her lantern for lost souls, the mother with her welcoming arms, the father with his scales of justice, the maiden with her purity, the warrior with his sword, the smith with his hammer, and lastly the stranger with his shrouded face. Pilgrims cross the 7 kingdoms to light candles here at the feet of their gods, but these aren't the gods. The 7 aren't encased in stone in the Great Sept any more than the souls of dead kings are in the tombs below it.
It's mad seeing this. This is where it all happens. Yeah, it's where they were.
Baelor summoned the High Septon of the Faith from his ancient seat in Old Town and gifted him with ornate robes and a crown of crystal and gold. And like a fool, the High Septon put on his lord's motley and danced at his lord's table. And with each passing year, the High Septons fell ever lower. How can the flock be kept safe from wolves when the shepherd sleeps in their den? Baelor himself appointed a simple-minded stonemason, believing him the smith reborn. And when he died, Baelor replaced him with an 8-year-old boy, whom Baelor had seen speaking with doves that answered with the voices of the 7. Still, the common people revere Baelor as the Blessed. They tell of how he forced a High Lord to wash a beggar's feet, fasted to tame his unnatural lusts, and walked the bone way himself to make peace with Dawn. Many Septons and Scepters even claim that Baelor rescued his cousin, the Dragon Knight, from a snake pit, because no viper would strike a man so pure and holy. A lie.
Bela was bitten 12 times and was bedridden for half a year. And yet he didn't die, nor did his high septons ruin the faith. Blessed Bela's statue may greet men outside the doors, but when men enter the Great Sept, they don't see the gold, or the crystal, or the ambitions of a humble member of a powerful dynasty. They see the gods. They feel awe at the divine majesty and their own insignificance. The gods work through Bela's pride and vanity as they work through all of us. For the faith is more than a sept. The faith is more than a high septon, more than all the septons and scepters who preach to the living, more than the silent sisters who prepare the dead. The faith is the will of the gods, and we are all its instruments. Kings and beggars, lords and cobblers, lions and sparrows.
That person who was outside there almost looked like they were getting ready to do a walk of atonement.
Men called me to spider long before I came to Westeros.
Same
As a
rags
young
that
thief
Cersei
in
had on, and I
Pentos, I
believe
seemed to have
Marjorie as
8
well.
hands, each dipped into a stranger's pocket. But the
Varys
other
told
thieves
us about
didn't
this, didn't he?
appreciate my
Yeah.
skill, and they had size and strength that I couldn't match. When they discovered why, I was beaten and told that a eunuch boy doesn't belong in the streets, but in the brothels, as any slaver would know. I managed to escape them, and took to sleeping in the sewers by day and prowling the rooftops by night. Barely one step ahead of starvation, much less slavery.
Yeah, his story from
Then
rags to
I met
riches is
Illyrio
crazy, isn't it?
Mapatis. He was a bravo who lived by his sword, but his mind was sharper than his blade. I proposed an arrangement. I would spy on lesser thieves and steal their takings. Illyrio would offer help to the thieves' victims, promising to recover their valuables for a fee. Soon every honest man knew to come to Illyrio, whilst the city's cut purses sought me.
Cool, so how he
Half to
knows
sell
him.
me
He's a
what
good
they'd
friend.
stolen,
Yeah.
and the other half to slit my throat. Sadly for them, Illyrio needed my throat more than he needed theirs. Most thieves, like most men, are fools who think no further than turning a night's plunder into wine. Luckily, as the other thieves had reminded me, I was not a man. Nor were those I hired with the gold we earned. I chose the smallest orphan boys and girls, the ones who were as quick and quiet as me, and taught them to climb walls and slip down chimneys.
His little
My
bird
little
network
birds
starting up as a
left
kid.
the shiny trinkets for common thieves, and instead stole letters, ledgers, and charts. Secrets are worth far more than silver or sapphires.
He said about that.
Later,
I
I
swear he
taught
said
my
that
little
to
birds to
Tyrion.
read the letters
Yes, I think he
themselves
did.
and leave them where they lay, so no one would know of our intrusion.
So he got the
Illyrio and I
secrets
grew
without
so
having to
rich
steal
that
anything
Illyrio wed a
physical.
princess of Pentos. I often wonder what became of my little birds once I left King's Landing. Most likely
became
returned
killers.
to Fleabot.
Yep.
The world never lacks for orphan. Little birds sing in the west, and little birds sing in the east, and a harpy flies into a spider's web.
Yeah, we saw how he got to the bottom of that.
Yes.
The War of the Nine-Penny Kings, they called it. But I never saw a king or earned a penny. After the war ended, I heard it all started when an exiled royal bastard raised an army of sellswords, and the rightful king sent his own army to stop an invasion. Sounds simple the way the maesters tell it, but an army isn't like a dog that comes when you whistle.
Hear
The
the
king
music.
calls on great lords, who call on lesser lords, who send out their captains to round up all the peasant men on the land the lord claims to own. If the lord is wise and generous, his new soldiers are given steel swords and wooden shields to fight his battles. Most of our army fought with sharp sticks. Singers still sing of the valiant heroes made in the war. Sir Brynden Tully, the Blackfish, Sir Tywin Lannister, and Prince Aerys Targaryen, Sir Barristan Selmy the Bold, who slew the bastard pretender and ended the war at a stroke. But the king whose crown we were defending never came. He mattered too much, I suppose. His hand commanded the crown's armies and died valiantly in his son's arms. Or so the singers say. I never saw that either. I did see the soldiers when they came to our village. They declared I was too young to fight, but my brothers and friends were all going and I wouldn't be left behind. My oldest brother said I could be his squire, though he wasn't a knight, just a pot boy armed with a stolen kitchen knife. He'd never need it. I saw him collapse on the march from fever, along with many from our village. I saw our shoes fall apart on the road, our clothes rot off our bodies, and half of us shitting our beds from the sickness and fear. And then we got to the war. In the stepstones, I saw a mace cave in my last brother's head. I saw the lord who led us there cut down, and some other lords shout that we were his now. One day I looked around and realized all my friends and kin were gone. I was fighting beside strangers under a banner I'd never seen. Didn't know where I was or how to get home. When a lord rode up shouting at us to form ranks with our scythes and hoes, I couldn't remember which side I was on. Then the knights came down on us, faceless men, all in steel, and the thunder of their charge filled the world. I closed my eyes. Years later, after the war had faded into songs, I opened them again.
Who is this?
And saw what I had
Just trying
done
to work out who it is.
and what I had
think.
become in the war and since. I went looking for a way back home. I know I'll never reach it, but that doesn't mean I don't need a guide.
What? Yeah, I'm listening to the entire story trying to work out who that was,
Same.
and I haven't placed them.
It
Oh, that's
ended
annoying
Years
me.
ago,
with a 7-pointed
in the
star
height
as
of
well.
summer, my
Sorry?
father told
It
my
ended
brother
with a
and me
7-pointed
story.
star at the
He
top.
only told it once, and he refused to speak of it ever again. When he was a young man, in the year of the false spring, a great southern lord held the largest tourney Westeros had ever seen, in the largest castle Westeros had ever seen. Knights and lords from across the 7 kingdoms made their way, drawn by the spectacle and the size of the champion's purse.
Yeah, previous
Even the
videos have
king
told
was
us
rumoured
who's
to be
speaking,
attending,
haven't they?
though none had seen him in years. Ours is a small house, and my father had come only to be part of the magnificence, whose like he'd never
No one
see
needs it
again.
at this point of the show.
No, surely not.
He was walking across the field, enjoying the warm spring day, when he was set upon by 3 squires. None were older than 15, yet all were bigger than him. This was their world, as they saw it, and he had no right to be there. They snatched away his spear and knocked him to the ground, cursing him for a frog-eater. Every time he tried to rise, they shoved him down and kicked him when he curled up on the ground. But then they heard a shout.
"That's my father's man you're kicking!"
howled the she-wolf. Lyanna Stark, the young daughter of Lord Rickard Stark, Warden of the North and my father's liege lord. Lyanna laid into the squires with a tourney sword, scattering them all.
Wow.
My father was bruised and bloodied, so she took him back to her tent to clean his cuts and bind them up with linen. There, he met her brothers, Wild Brandon, who led them, the quiet Eddard, and Benjen, who was the youngest of the 4. That evening, there was to be a feast in Harrenhal to mark the opening of the tourney, and Lyanna insisted that my father attend, as he was of high birth with as much a right to a place on the bench as any other man. She was not easy to refuse, this wolf maid, so my father borrowed suitable clothes from Benjen and went up to the great castle. Under Harren's great roof, my father ate and drank with his fellow Northmen. A black brother beseeched the knights to join the Night's Watch, to snickers and smiles. Prince Rhaegar sang a song so sad that it brought tears to Lyanna's eyes. But when Benjen teased her for it, she poured wine over his head. Lord Baratheon drank down a night of skulls and kisses in a wine cup war. My father remembered a beautiful woman with purple eyes, who danced with Sir Barristan Selmy and several others. As the end of the evening approached, Brandon Stark asked her for one more dance on his shy brother's behalf, and so Eddard Stark shared the last dance of the celebration with Lady Ashara Dane. Abruptly, the hall went quiet. The Mad King had come after all, and was now entering the hall with his Kingsguard. He hadn't left the Red Keep in years, and none could believe the state of him. His long yellow fingernails, tangled beard, and ropes of unwashed, matted hair made his madness plain to all.
Nice.
Nor was his behaviour that of a sane man, for in the blink of an eye he could go from hysterical laughter to weeping to rage. But when he commanded Sir Jaime Lannister to kneel before him and swear the oath of the Kingsguard before half the lords of the realm, a cheer burst from the crowd. For Sir Jaime was much admired for his courage, gallantry, and skill with a sword. Amidst all this merriment, my father spied the 3 squires who'd attacked him, attending their knights. Lyanna saw them too, and pointed them out to her brothers. "I could find you a horse and some armour that might fit," Benjen offered. My father thanked him, but gave no answer. Our people sit a boat more often than a horse, and our hands are made for oars.
not lances. Much as he wished to have his vengeance, he
I
feared
think
he
it
would
might
only
be.
make a fool of himself and shame his people. Eddard had offered my father a place in his tent that night, but before my father slept, he knelt on the lake shore, looking across the water to the Isle of Faces, and said a prayer to the old gods. The next day in the tourney, the 3 knights whose squires had beaten my father unseated their opponents and earned a place among the champions.
What's their family
But
name
late
again?
in the
Do you remember?
afternoon,
Reed.
as the shadows grew long, a mystery knight appeared in the lists. He was short and clad in ill-fitting armor cobbled together from different suits. On his shield was painted a heart tree of the old gods, a white weirwood with a laughing red face.
So this is him.
The mystery knight dipped his lance before the king and rode to the end of the lists, where the 5 champions had their pavilions. You can guess the 3 he challenged. Whoever the mystery knight was, the old gods gave strength to his arm. All 3 knights fell before him. None were well loved, so the common folk cheered the Knight of the Laughing Tree, as the new champion was soon called. When his fallen foes sought to ransom their horses and armor, the Knight of the Laughing Tree's voice boomed through his helm and told them, "Teach your squires honor. That shall be ransom enough." Once the defeated knights chastised their squires sharply, their horses and armor were returned. And so, my father's prayer was answered.
They
The king
killed their
was
squires.
furious. In his madness, he suspected a traitor in his midst. Perhaps even the newly made Sir Jaime Lannister, whom he had already sent back to the Red Keep. That night, the king asked Lord Robert Baratheon to take to the lists and unmask the mystery knight, declaring him no friend of his. But the next morning, when the heralds blew their trumpets and the king took his seat, the Knight of the Laughing Tree had vanished.
I was going to say, gone.
All they ever found was his painted shield, hanging abandoned in a tree. My father's tale ended here. He never spoke more of Harrenhal, though he must have seen Prince Rhaegar's victory. Some whispered that Prince Rhaegar himself had arranged the entire tourney in secret, as a way to gather the great lords and address his father's apparent madness, perhaps even remove him from the Iron Throne.
Ooh.
But when I asked my father about this, he only shrugged sadly. What Rhaegar intended, none can say. But all know what he did.
Interesting. Yeah, he kidnapped Lyanna.
Yeah.
Had a baby.
Between the free
Johnny
cities
boy.
and the bones,
Johnny boy.
between the shivering sea and Slaver's Bay, spreads the Dothraki Sea. Named not for its waters, but for how freely its conquerors roam upon it. A traveller on the Dothraki Sea will find few villages and no farms, because the Dothraki view it as a sin to cut into their Mother Earth with ploughs and shovels, and the Dothraki know only one punishment. The closest the Dothraki approach to civilization is Vaes Dothrak. Though to outsiders it doesn't look like a city. There are no walls, because the Dothraki believe only cowards hide behind them, instead of facing an enemy blade in hand. But the Dothraki couldn't do that here either. Within the bounds of the city, no one, not even the mightiest Khal, may carry a blade, by order of the priestesses of the Dosh Kali. Not that any enemy would be foolish enough to attack the sacred city of the Dothraki in the first place. 2 giant bronze stallions rear over the entrance to the city, their hooves meeting in the air to form an arch, the famous Horse Gate. Through it is the God's Way, but the Dothraki drag the sacred idols of the cities and peoples they've broken. Along one side, stone gods look down on you from cracked thrones with chipped and stained faces, their names lost to time. Across the road, monsters watch you pass. Black iron dragons with jewels for eyes, roaring griffins, manticores with barbed tails poised to strike.
Mad.
Yeah,
and
that
other
really
terrible
is.
beasts from every corner of Essos. But there is nothing to fear. If these gods and devils had any power, they would never have ended here. Not all foreign gods in Vaes Dothrak are broken. In the famous eastern and western markets, merchants worship their god of trade with the sufferance of the Dothraki.
Was it they tried to say they were wine
understand
merchants?
Buying and selling.
Yes. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
The Western Market is a great square of beaten earth filled with animal pens, drinking halls, and a maze of stalls and crooked aisles. Even goods from Westeros find their way here, though the merchants who sell them wouldn't know a Lannister from a Frey. The Eastern Market is fittingly a stranger place. The elders of the Dosh Khaleen view it with suspicion, and most Dothraki stay away. They aren't wrong. The great elephants, the basilisks and silver cages, and the striped black and white horses of the Diogus Nai are harmless enough. But I can see how the elders wouldn't want their younger members to see the warrior maids of Hir Kun, who wear iron rings in their nipples and rubies in their cheeks. Or listen to the Shadow Men, who cover their bodies with tattoos and hide their faces behind masks, and whisper dark secrets for a price.
That's who that lady
This is all
was.
of Vice Dothrak that foreigners ever know.
Yeah, she's a full-on mask. We never did
only
find out who that
Dothraki
was.
are permitted
No,
to be in
she
the
was
city,
getting the tattoos
but
done, wasn't
Dosh
she?
Khaleen live out their
Or
lives.
doing the tattoos, one way
A
around.
blood rider, drunk on fermented mare's milk, once told me that the Dosh Khaleen are stewards. They prepare for the day when every rider of every Khalasar shall return to the city. And the Dothraki truly will be one blood and one Khalasar again, under the greatest Khal of all, the stallion who mounts the world. He will ride to the ends of the earth and grind nations into dust, and take the whole world as his herd. Or so the prophecy goes.
Yeah, that's not looking very likely.
Yet the
at the
world
moment.
is vast, with
Personally,
many
in the
places
heart,
a horse
that's what
can't go.
Daenerys had to do
The
with
stallion who mounts the world couldn't rear above a mountain range, or leap across the sea. Still, the world has been conquered before, just not with stallions.
First time for everything, but yeah, they're following Daenerys at the moment.
Oh,
is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't tell us who. I think I worked most of those out. There was just that one, the guy who said his brothers were slain down and he saw the boy with a kitchen knife get killed, and then he ended up fighting. He got to the point where he didn't even recognise who was around him. He didn't know who he was fighting with, who he was fighting for.
No.
I didn't know if that was going to potentially be like a sellsword of some sort, but I couldn't link the character. Like I say, it ended with a 7-pointed star, so yeah, if you could just let us know. I'll have a look in the description, see if it does tell us on the video, but yeah, if not, just who that is. But yeah, I mean, that was packed of information. That's one thing with watching these. It's like just an absolute puddle of information. And the problem is then sometimes you hear things that then start getting you to think about things that are currently going on. And then sometimes a couple of minutes have gone by and I'm like, hang on, what's going on?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, they've given you this information and you're like, oh yeah, that links to this and that. And then like you miss what's said next. And then I'm like, oh, I'm lost for a little while just because you're like,
you're thinking things through.
So much info in such a small
period of time. Yeah. I mean, it's so informative. I mean, the first thing that got into my mind, I don't know about you, was when Jorah was speaking about the Dothraki and just saying about how they like to fight from their horses. Yeah. And I started thinking about this, like if they are all going to be on their horses, and is it going to be important what they told us there about when they thought the Dothraki had been defeated, but then a wave of arrows came from where they were actually sitting back and it was a trap, and could that kind of thing kind of come into play again? I don't know if it can, because obviously they need to storm King's Landing, because we've seen before they need to just breach the gate. If they can get through the gate, but can they even come in from that side, or are they going to come in from the Blackwater, just like... Because this is, remember, they got Tyrion and Varys with them.
They have, yeah.
So,
I mean, they can attack from different ways, because obviously you've got the dragons there. So, I mean, the best way for Daenerys and her army is to draw the army, or whoever's going to be fighting out.
Yes.
But if you can't, the dragons are a pretty good way of drawing people out.
They can just burn the gate down.
If they're terrorising the city, burn the gate down and just terrorise the city, get everyone frantic, and maybe force them out that way. Yeah. But, I mean, you've got the Unsullied on the foot, and then you got Dothraki on horses, and they've got plenty of ships. They could attack from seemingly a few different ways.
I forget they have Varys and Tyrion, so they have people with them, especially Varys, who know. I mean, Tyrion knows his way around as well. Let's not forget. And look at how he did what he did when he killed Shay and Tywin. So yeah, they actually have two people there who know the weaknesses, the strengths, the best way of pulling this off. They don't know just how crazy Cersei has gone.
No, Varys said about the children that he trained, they liked learning the tunnels under the Red Keep.
That's it.
And we know that, like you say, Tyrion knows them as well. He used them. He knew exactly where to go to get to Tywin's bedroom and then obviously get himself out of there. So yeah, that could all come into play.
Yes,
that could all come into play when they eventually get there.
So it was Cole Mango who brought everyone.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Mengo or Mango, but I said Mango.
It sounded like they were saying Mango, and given that a lot of their names are A's, So we had there's other ones that have come up before. The O's and A's.
The old Drago, the famous Cole Drago.
You're such a prick. But yeah, no, I think he did say. I think it was Cole Mango. Do you reckon he once let a man go?
Yeah, probably.
And
yeah.
then they were like, "Man, go."
I got
and then they were like, "It's Mango, Cole Mango." And then he was father of Cole Morrow, which I swear sounds similar to the name of the guy who Daenerys met. I can't remember what his name was. Cole Coro, or
no, I can't either.
They all just blend in. The names are so similar to one another, aren't they?
Yes.
Really interesting story though about Arthur Dane. So he seems like he might actually be quite a stand-up guy.
Yes.
He, of all the people we've met who have been in the past, he's one of the ones at the top of my list for who I wish we had actually seen in action. Another one being Rhaegar, because I would still just love Rhaegar to explain exactly what was going on with Lyanna and the whole story. But all the first-hand accounts of that seem to be gone. And the problem is with House of the Dragon, we're going to go back 90 years. That's too far. So I just don't know if we're ever going to get this I need a prequel for this. Like, you could almost have a prequel for that exact thing. They've told the story. It was never featured in the Game of Thrones. I would love to see a prequel based on the rebellion. So it starts off and you've got all the characters in place and, Rhaegar takes Lyanna and that's all unfolded. And then we actually see exactly what took place. And even though we know what happens, it'd be so interesting to see all the various different... The only problem would be is that it was so recent, it wouldn't look the same with different characters playing the people. That's going to be a massive put-off for people that have seen Game of Thrones.
I do know that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which we're going to get to eventually as well, so no spoilers there, that is set after House of the Dragon and before Game of Thrones.
That's the one that's 90 years before, is it?
I think it is, yeah. I think it's about around 90 years after House of the Dragon and 90 years or 100 years before Game of Thrones. So, or I might have the timings mixed up there, but...
No, I've got you.
Yeah.
No, fair play. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to get into him, but that's just one storyline I'd be really interested to hear because...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he seemed like a decent guy. I mean, he did everything that he needed to do. The Brotherhood that they mentioned a couple of times in this, I still don't really fully understand the Brotherhood. They just seem like a bunch of lost souls.
They were kind of, it seemed like outlawed, and then they just became their own collection of people, like they said, like fathers of dead sons, and it seemed like they collected maybe like misfits. They had no banners.
Well, they used to be run by the Smiling Knight,
who
sounded quite sinister.
Yeah.
So I just don't fully understand the Brotherhood. I just haven't
like just a vigilante group, but it's crazy, like, because they've not had like a mad amount of airtime. Maybe they get more in the books, but the amount of lore surrounding them, like, it's mad that even the most, they're not insignificant, of course, but like even the most insignificant like thing in this show still has a bunch of lore around it. And I think what he's built here, George R. R. Martin, is incredible. Like, the entire world he's built is incredible.
Oh, so detailed.
Just to tell this one story, like, of the Game of Thrones, it's mad.
I've had a theory.
Go on.
It's an on-the-spot theory, so this could be even worse than a normal theory.
Blimey.
What if the reason we keep hearing and seeing about Beric, because so far it kind of told us that there was this option and open availability to bring Jon back.
Yeah.
What if we see Beric die and Thoros can't bring him back, and then Jon sees that and he's like, shit. Because he's come back so many times, and he did tell us as well that comment that he said about every time he comes back, he feels less himself.
Yeah, he loses a piece of himself.
Yeah, so that means that Jon has lost a piece of himself. And what piece is that? How important is that? And is that part going to be why Jon didn't want to do the fighting initially and Sansa had to rally him? Because he had lost part of that desire, part of that drive. And if he does die again, because if it does happen, I'm just assuming that someone's going to send for Lady Melisandre and go, come back.
We need you again.
We didn't mean it. I mean, you did burn a kid alive, but we need you right now.
Yeah.
And is she then going to bring him back again and he's going to have lost a piece again? And I don't know if it's going to be that, but I don't know if those storylines could ever intertwine with one another. And I don't know if Beric, given how many times he has died, if we do see his final death, because that would be a warning that you're not immortal.
No, that's it.
There's a limit to this.
We'll bring you back until your story's done, basically, and then you can't come back.
Yes, because that's what people keep being told. The Hound, Beric, Jon, it was all that your story, you're still needed, you're still relevant. So that, to me, implies that there's going to be a time where you can't be brought back.
Yeah, That's what I got from that. Have we heard Thoros be referred to as the Red Priest before, or have I just missed that?
I hadn't, but we've heard I suppose he does do the same thing effectively.
And he said about, I noted down that he said he wore the red cloak.
Yes,
and we saw that Lady Missandei, the red woman.
We had the Red Priestess who Tyrion decided to bring on board. So yeah, Red Priest as a name does make a lot of sense for him. But no, I wasn't aware of that beforehand.
No,
really interesting backstory that we got on the House Tarly, because his father. The only thing I don't get about this whole story, right, is knowing Sam for who Sam is, and let's just think back to the Sam who turned up to the wall.
Yeah.
Surely, if he had said to him, my heir is your brother, you can stay in this house, but you will not be my heir. Surely Sam would have just said yes. He would have gone along with that. Old Sam now probably wouldn't. He's changed quite a lot, but old Sam would have gone along with that. So I can only assume it's what we heard there is he wanted to kill him. He knew that he could probably get him to just step aside.
I think he was a shame on his family, regardless. So
he just didn't want him there.
He wanted him gone,
dead.
And it kind of Sam goes to the wall then.
Yeah.
Because if you just skip an heir, I think it looks bad on you. But if they're at the wall or they're dead, then it's the right thing to do to go to the next son. So yeah, he wanted him out there no matter what, and the wall was probably the easiest for both of them, really. But it did seem like he wanted him dead.
Yeah, Absolutely. No, it really did. Because I was just thinking, he definitely would have stepped aside for Dickon, the Sam who turned up at the wall anyway.
Yeah. He knows that, Sam, he shouldn't have lasted 2 minutes at the wall, so he probably knew he was sending him to his death anyway. But it's changed now. We saw there that Sam has had an interest in books from a young age. He wasn't learning to fight when he was young. He was out in the garden reading books, and his dad even hated that. So it seems like this was all quite fitting that his story has led him to Old Town and to become a maester.
If I've heard this before, it obviously just didn't have enough relevance at the time, but did we know that Jaime was promised to Lysa Tully? Were we ever aware of that?
I don't know. I was a bit taken aback by that, it was the first time I've heard it, but yeah, it could be that we just missed that. But I didn't know. I didn't know that.
We know that the Tullys have always operated by marriages. We've heard that in the past. That's how they had their power, and that's why Cat was promised to Brandon.
Well, they said it was during Blackfish's part. It's if you want to get inside this castle, the only way is by marriage.
Yeah,
because of how fortified it is with a moat.
I just was thinking, and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard that before.
No.
I mean, I was trying to work out with the whole Jaime Cersei storyline there as well. So it was Cersei who convinced Jaime. He said that she had his consent by the following morning
to become.
So, and they decided to basically switch places effectively, and it feels like that's almost where their love story maybe kicked off.
Yeah, well, she wanted him to stay instead of going to, where was he going back to? Where did
Castle Rock?
Castle Rock, yeah. But yeah, I can imagine Tywin was fuming when he because obviously we knew that Cersei could manipulate. It would have been Robert at the time, wouldn't it, to get him to stay and on the King's Guard?
No, that was when he hadn't seen her for many years. They had last seen when they were 12, so this would have been back when the Mad King was still on the throne. Robert hadn't come along yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. But
because he then went in, he went to King's Landing, and that's where he then went up the ranks, and then he said he realised that he couldn't do the tournament anymore, and that King Aerys had his kind of claws in him.
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, it didn't
to get back at his father.
Didn't seem like it kind of worked out for them because they wanted to, surely she wanted him there so they could be together. But then she ended up going anyway.
He said that's where everything started going wrong, and it just went downhill from there. But yeah, I am very interested to see how the Jaime Cersei dynamic in season 7 is going to be.
Well, we just saw the origin story to it. That hadn't seen each other for a long time, and
I
wonder where those feelings came from. If they hadn't seen each other for so long, then all of a sudden they're in love. Would have happened pretty quickly.
There was a lot in here about the Greyjoys and the Ironborn. Do you know, I've always struggled to. They've always been down there for me, the Ironborn, because they're like,
to take them seriously. Really,
they're like the Dothraki of the West in that. They're just savages.
Yeah.
You know, we saw that when Daenerys offered extended the branch to Yara, I'm guessing she hasn't told anybody about this yet, and I still don't know how that's going to go down because that is their way of life, ridiculously.
Yeah, they had to give it all up, didn't they?
It feels mad that you're going to probably get turned on if you say to people, now you can't raid.
Can't rape, you can't raid, you can't pillage.
Can't pillage, okay? And there's just going to be this massive uproar, like people are fuming.
What do you expect me to do with my days now?
This was my life.
Yeah.
I lived for this.
I've now got a clear calendar.
I just don't know how that's going to go down. But yeah, do you know, I still don't like them. Even when I hear like Euron speaking, they're just I don't really know a whole lot about Euron. I just don't like him.
It seems like this is probably the biggest thing that the Greyjoys have done. They've sailed west, got in bed with the Targaryens, and they're now sailing across, and there's an alliance there. And yeah, this is probably the start of the biggest part of the Greyjoys, because
it's never really got going, has it?
No, they've dipped in and out, but this is the biggest part for them to play is coming up.
Well, it's got to be Euron versus Yara. Yeah, I'm guessing Theon's still going to have a bit to play in this. I mean,
definitely coming back.
The only Greyjoy I ever really warmed to was Yara.
Yeah.
As the seasons have gone on, obviously Theon, it kind of gets further and further away from the massive betrayal of Robb that he did, but Yara, just for the fact she's shown intelligence above and beyond what other Greyjoys have.
She's easily the best Greyjoy we've seen.
So but I don't know if it could even be Theon maybe like gives his life to save her when it comes to a battle against Euron, because that's the thing to consider is this army's coming over, but Euron's not going to go away, it would seem. It would be very strange if he did. He wants to kill him.
He had a plan in place, and they essentially hijacked it and got the jump on him.
The Daenerys and Yara wedding coming up in season 7.
Yeah. Dual queens.
It'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
Nice to get a little bit of back detail on Ser Artus and what Littlefinger was telling us. But yeah, I really thought that there was going to be a battle fought at the Vale, because we've had this sort of drip-fed information about how it is impregnable and the goat roads and how difficult it is to enter through the Blood Gate, and
we get
you
told
can only
what
march
fortress.
it's 3 wide, I believe, and
something like that,
just get basically you just get defeated from up above. And as the seasons go on, I just don't know. The only thing I could possibly see happening, but it can't, because the whole world is coming for the Lannisters. I was thinking that they find out about Littlefinger's betrayal, and it's the Lannister army that head for the Vale.
Yeah,
and Littlefinger can take them out that way, but that can't happen because they got the whole world coming for them at the moment.
We were just told as well. I don't know if it'll have any bearing on what's coming up, but it is impenetrable, but not for dragons. Dragons have got to it in the past, and we know dragons are back in the world and they're coming. So I don't know if that's going to have any sort of relevance, but they definitely told us, and normally it's not for no reason, but.
Yes, Robin going through the moon door as well.
Yeah.
He'd be all right, he can fly.
Cook him first and then chuck him through.
Robins fly, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, there you go, yeah. I knew that, I don't know why I asked the question. But yeah, it's going to be, so if it is them going up to the Vale, then I don't know.
But yeah, even if it doesn't happen, we have, like you say, we've heard a lot about it, about how great it is, and like, I mean, it'd probably be great for a siege, but yeah. The Tully Castle takes it for me.
Imagine if Littlefinger has to side back with the Lannisters again, because he's losing in the north, and now Robb's king of the north, and we know what Littlefinger's like.
Yeah,
just constantly positioning himself. And
yeah, but I don't know which, like surveying which side's winning.
Yeah, I know.
Like, just jumping sides.
I mean, at first, I think he's probably still hoping there's something that can happen with Sansa, but
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. The more I think about it, that scene where the whole of the North have just declared themselves to Jon, King of the North. I think he's lost. He's lost. Yeah. It's now, that's Jon's. And if Sansa wants it all, she's kind of lost as well. And yeah, Littlefinger especially, maybe now he's like, right, that's it, back with the Lannisters, we'll try again.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really, this would be the worst time to side with the Lannisters, because, yeah, with what's coming over, and maybe that would link in with what we've just, like you say, we've just been told about the fact that dragons have defeated it in the past.
Yeah.
So maybe he does side with the Lannisters, and for once, finally, he ends up on the losing side. Just like Pycelle, he's somebody in the past who was constantly negotiating in his position, but he made the mistake of siding with Tommen instead of Cersei.
Yep.
Not that Cersei gave him much choice, really. She kind of pushed him out.
He was pushed out for the most part, wasn't he? Because she wanted someone like Qyburn that was... Well, I mean, Pycelle was never a saint, but Qyburn doesn't mind with the underhand stuff he does.
Yes.
Like the way he's like engineered the mountain into this like killing machine.
What happens with Qyburn? Because bearing in mind Cersei's just making things up as she goes along. Is he going to be Grand Maester Pycelle? Because is he going to be Grand Maester Qyburn effectively? But he's been banished, and we were told again, reminded there by Pycelle, that he has been banished.
Yeah.
So who's the new Grand Maester going to be? Are they going to get Sam in?
Imagine that.
He hasn't even done his training
No,
yet.
he hasn't.
Yeah, or is she just going to put him in that position? Does she even care about positions anymore?
I don't think she cares. I don't think she's put herself on the throne, and she has no claim to it.
No.
So basically, she's like does what she wants at this point.
I was going to save this for season 7, episode 1, just because it's something that might play out. But I'll ask it here: like, does Gendry have a relevance if he's alive?
I mean, we spoke about this in the outro.
I forget what we talk about, mate.
Episode 10,
honestly.
And, I think we said that there's definitely a chance that he does. Like, but
who finds him? Because he's not going to work this out on his own.
He's still on a boat somewhere. He's been on a boat for about 2 seasons.
I mean, if he's still on a boat, he's dead. I'm guessing that he got back and he's gone back to Flea Bottom where he's always been because he's comfortable there. And he was a little bit up, wasn't he? Sorry, no, it was Davos that's from Flea Bottom. He was from. I think he's from Flea Bottom.
He was down that way. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Davos just happened to be on the worst road,
Yeah.
the hill. I forgot what it's called now, but it's where all the sewage used to come down, didn't he?
People used to tip,
Yeah. I mean, could it be that because who knows? Who actually knows about Gendry? Davos.
Yeah.
Davos knows about Gendry.
He does, yeah.
So maybe this news comes to him and he says to Jon, look, he's a bastard just like you. You're king of the north. He can be king of the south.
Yeah, get him on board.
Let's get down there before the dragons come in.
They try and make you forget about people. They've got the wrong people here because we don't forget. But he's been out of it so long. I could see him popping up at some point.
We're from the south as well. The south
exactly.
never forgets.
Yeah.
The south always remembers.
The south remembers, yeah.
What else did I've written down here? House Hightower. Yeah, it was good to get some background on that. I don't know if I read into that incorrectly, but when he said they opened their arms and then said something stopped, that would imply legs.
Legs, yeah.
So, and we've seen that the stories that Lady Olenna and Marjorie have had in the past. And
yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that means that that's how they tricked House Hightower into forfeiting to Aegon.
Yeah, that's how I took it because Olenna said how she has used in the past, and then she said to Marjorie, did she say to Marjorie that she's better than she is or something?
Yeah, she did. You're better than I ever was.
It's kind of how the plan was to manipulate the king, but they obviously had to get rid of Joffrey because he wasn't as easily manipulated, and then obviously Tommen was the easiest ever. Like, you couldn't have asked for a more malleable person. Like, he was taken by Marjorie minute 1.
Yes.
So
they
definitely use their talents to their advantage.
How important is Edmure going to be? Because now that Walder Frey's dead and Blackfish is dead, and Jaime and the forces have left, does this mean that Edmure's back? He can now run River Run and maybe take over the twins? Is Walder Frey's death enough? Because we've seen the intelligence of his offspring. Is it going to be that the twins now falls? It's up for grabs because it's a very strategical position.
It is.
Can Edmure take it over?
And it's quite close proximity as well to River Run. It's not far away.
No, we saw they're on the map. Yeah. They were basically there. So
it's quite. I mean, it would be up for grabs, I'm sure. But I don't know who has a claim to it. Or who.
The thing is, right, with Daenerys coming over with this absolute army that can swamp the 7 kingdoms, I don't know how relevant any of this is going to be anymore. Because is she just going to come over and just take it all anyway?
Yeah.
And all these little individual storylines are just going to be irrelevant, and there's just going to be this chat between Daenerys and Jon where he's like, got to go defeat the dead. And she's like, okay, go.
Yeah.
Do you want a dragon?
Yeah,
Is going to be any use for the snow? But
give him riding lessons.
I was just thinking about Edmure, like if he could have some real relevance there. But like you say, maybe let's just see how the beginning of season 7 pans out. Because if Daenerys does come in, I'm guessing it's going to be the opener. She's going to just land maybe at the end of episode 1 or even the beginning. We might go straight in, and just take over. Really interesting to get the backstory on Illyrio as well, and how him and Varys became good friends.
Yes, he was. Yeah, we saw. Yeah, he's got a lot of friends in a lot of places. And,
he's in for a hell of a shock when he gets back to see what his little birds have been up to. Because the ones that are alive, they're now killers.
They are killers. Yeah, they're still a savage way to kill Pycelle. I mean, I don't mind that he's not in it anymore, but converting those children into killers was Yeah, mad.
Yeah, no, it really was. Really was.
I mean, that's one thing that Cersei probably like. I don't know if Pycelle would have stooped that low, but Qyburn seemingly has zero morals.
Oh, the Cersei Qyburn duo is becoming the perfect relationship for both, because Qyburn's allowed to do whatever he wants.
The freedom to do what he wants, which is why he was expelled from the Citadel.
Yeah,
and now he's got the freedom to do that.
And Cersei seems to trust him completely.
Yeah, she does.
He seems to be. I'd argue does she trust him more than Jaime? There's one for you.
I think she probably would. I think she probably does.
She does just seem to trust him with anything.
Jaime, for his faults,
seems to have some morals, crept in over the seasons.
He does have some morals. He's done some bad stuff, Jaime. We know that, but he does have some morals.
He knows his incest limits because he kept it to just his sister, whereas Cersei wanted to make it a Lannister affair.
Yeah, well,
literally.
she was with Lancel as well.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
she wanted it to just be. She just wanted a Lannister orgy on the go.
Lannister love triangle.
No, a Lannister orgy. Everyone's involved.
Dad, go on.
Even Tyrion was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a packed. Have you got anything else?
No, I'm just, I mean, no.
Information overload?
Yeah, it is really an overload. It really is an overload.
Yeah, you need like 20 minutes off camera now to just let all the information sit through. But yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. It was really, really intriguing, interesting. I cannot wait to jump into the 7th season. I wish we'd jumped into it today, but at the same time, I love to get this context. And yeah, there's bits in there about the Tullys, the Tarleys, and Arthur Dane as well, that I just love getting that backstory.
I do enjoy.
Glad we do it.
I enjoy the lore videos, and not all of it will stick, but I'll be watching an episode coming up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that, and that's it's good because it gives you more context, and I love that.
Exactly that, because I theorised that the castle, the place where Lyanna gave birth, looked like it was in Dorne.
Yes,
and it was in Dorne, and we got that confirmation in this. And
yeah,
we didn't get that in the show, so just now knowing that, and even though it was in a deserty place, I get it's probably obvious. Like, of course, it's got to be Dorne. Because where else could it possibly be? But yeah, it's just for little bits like that. The Dosh Kalin.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But yeah, thanks for being with us in this one. Please give the video a like if you haven't done so already. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Always love to hear from you. Just please, as always, no spoilers. And yeah, we'll see you back here for the 7th season. I'm sure it's going to be a great one.